What's up guys, so in this lesson you'll be learning how to make a very simple beat. So at this point you should already have FL Studio downloaded, and then if you want to follow along, I suggest that you download the kit that I made for this lesson. It's going to be in the pinned comment, and this is going to also show you how to download packs if you don't already know, and if you don't already have packs downloaded. So packs again are just drum sounds, maybe like one-shot sounds, samples, all that. It's going to go into your packs folder. So once you click on the link in the pinned comment, this is going to pop up. You're going to go to the lesson 2 pack, right click, and then hit download. And then that should take a very short amount of time. And then, so how you get the pack in there is you right click on your packs folder and you hit open. I made my own folder specifically for this tutorial, but for you, you're gonna right click on the packs folder and hit open. And then yours might be empty, it might have stuff in it, but you're gonna open the zip folder with the pack inside and drag it into your packs folder. And that's it. So now you have the pack. To see it, you just refresh. So you click on this button and then you can open your packs folder and it'll be right there. So when you're making beats, especially as a beginner, you want to limit yourself so you don't get confused. So I suggest you follow this checklist that I made. It's going to be in that folder. So if you follow the checklist, your beats aren't going to sound empty and you're not going to be really missing anything for the most part. Hip-hop and R&B beats are usually made up of these elements. So as long as you have one of each of these elements, then you should be straight. Then once you get more comfortable making beats, then you can kind of venture out and do your own thing. But in the beginning, I highly suggest sticking to a checklist, whether it be like a mental checklist or this checklist that I gave you guys. So to start, we're going to do a piano, and this will be a part of the chord melody. So on your FL Studio, you might not have a whole lot of plugins. You might have the stock plugins, you might not have any plugins, but I think whenever you download FL Studio, it should come with this plugin called Fruity Keys or Fruity Keyboard. So to find it, you might need to go click on more plugins. So you right click on the sampler, replace, more plugins, and then you type in keys. So it's FL keys. So I'm going to check that, X out of that, and then right click again, replace, FL keys. So this is a very basic keyboard. So we're gonna make a really simple melody. FL Studio, when it opens up, it's gonna be at 140 BPM, which is perfect tempo to do trap and hip hop type beats. So to create this melody, you right click, you hit piano roll, and this will pop up your piano roll. So in the beginning, I would focus on making melodies that are about this long, from here to here. It's very easy to tell how long that is because one section is light, the other section is dark. So you want to go all the way up until this point. Also, it says 5 right there. So you want to go up to that point, the melody will play, and then I'll loop back to that point. That's how long you want your melodies to be in the beginning. And then once you get a little better and more comfortable with making beats, then you can make your melodies like that long. But for now, we're going to make a melody about this long. Alright. Alright, so I haven't used FL keys in a while. I guess on this one you have to click and then open one of the presets. So I just opened Grand Piano and I'm going to lay down some chords. If you know anything about music theory, then that information will be very helpful to you. You want to make sure that your melody is in key and you're not putting notes that are out of key with each other. So I'm just going to use the white notes just to make sure that it's in key. So that's one chord. I'm just doing random chords right now. And then I always suggest, like, when you're first starting out, put on the metronome. That kind of gives you a picture of how the tempo of the beat. Alright, so that's the first melody. So if you look at the checklist, we can cross that off, the chords melody. Next up will be the Pluck Melody. So for that, I'm going to use Purity. Purity is another VST. I think it's $30, so it's pretty cheap, and it's one of the best VSTs that there is, at least for that price range. So I'd highly suggest getting Purity. And FL Studio comes with some other plugins, so I think it comes with Harmor and Harmless. So whatever plugin you go with, as long as it has like a pluck sound, then it should be fine. And each of these plugins that FL Studio comes with have pluck sounds and all sorts of sounds, so you should be fine using any of them. So for the pluck, I'm just going to basically follow along with these ghost notes. And if you don't see these on your FL Studio, you can click on this drop down menu, you go to helpers, and you make sure that this is checked. So you might see yours as blank like that. Drop down menu, helpers, check ghost channels, and there you go. So that's it for the Pluck Melody. You want to keep everything super simple. Don't want to have one instrument going crazy and the other instrument also going crazy. because that's gonna make the whole beat sound crazy. You want each element to be very simple. So now we're going to check off that on the list. And next up is the lead melody. So for the lead, I'm also going to use Purity. I'm going to use a simple saw wave. Alright, and then I'm going to bring that down an octave. So to do that, you can click on this miscellaneous functions tab on your VST, and then you see how this C5 is highlighted blue. That means you're in that octave C5. So to lower it, I'm going to go to C6, I think. Yeah. Alright, so that's it for the lead melody. So we'll go ahead and check that off the list. Next up, I'm going to add the clap or snare. So most beats these days use a clap as opposed to a snare, but you do get a lot of beats that use snare. In this case, I'm going to use a clap. So you'll find that in the kit right there. And usually claps go in this position whenever you're above 100 BPM. So if you're making beats, if you're always making beats at around 140 or any beat above maybe 120, then you're gonna be totally fine putting your claps where I'm gonna show you where to put them. So you see how these sections are broken down into gray and red. So every second gray section, you want to put one clap. So 1, 2, clap. 1, 2, clap. 1, 2, clap. And then there's one more. 1, 2, clap. And then to view that, you can right click, go to piano roll, and then you can see the claps that you just laid down. And this is what it sounds like. You want to make sure that you always put your claps in that position, otherwise it's going to sound crazy. So we'll check that off the list. Next up is the hi-hats. And for this beat, we're not going to go too crazy with the hi-hats because, again, this is going to be a very simple beat. So we'll grab the hi-hat, and so any Playboy Cardi type beat or Pierre Bourne type beat and a lot of different trap beats, you're going to just be able to right click and do two-step, and you don't have to do too much with the hi-hats. just like this is fine. And this is what that sounds like. Alright, so we can check the hi-hats off the list. Next up, I'm going to do the open hi-hats. And you don't have to do these in any particular order. You can do them in whatever order you feel like. So next I'm going to do the open hi-hat. Now, as for the open hi-hat, you can place it basically wherever you feel like placing it, as long as it goes with the groove of the beat. Now, just so you guys know, this is when you first start making beats, your beats are going to be not very good, and that's perfectly okay. I'm just making something super random, but don't compare your beats to other people. Your first beats are going to be trash. The important thing is to make a lot of beats. The more beats you make, the better your beats are going to get. So in the beginning, I suggest making at least one beat a day, and eventually you probably, if you really want to take music production seriously, you want to be doing around 10 beats a day if you can, but no less than one beat a day. It's less important to do a whole bunch of beats in one day and then maybe the next day you might not do any beats. It's more important to have consistency. Do one beat a day and don't take any days off if you can from making beats, because that's going to give you the most progress. So let's see, we'll check the open hi-hats off the list. Next up, we're not going to do the perks in this lesson. I'll explain a little bit of what perks are. So perks is short for percussion, and so any percussion instrument is going to be a perk. Except when it comes to hip-hop beats, usually when we're talking about perks, we're not talking about claps or kicks or hi-hats or anything like that. We're talking about like rim sounds and just like extra sounds to give the drum part of the beat a little bit more character. So we're not going to really get into perks in this lesson, and we're also not going to get into effects sweeps in this lesson. The effects sweeps is in beats when there's a transition. Leading up to the transition, you'll hear like a sound like going into the transition. That would be an effects sweep, but we're not going to get into that on this lesson. So next up, we're going to do the 808. I do suggest doing the 808 before you do the kicks. So we're going to do the 808s first. So with 808s, typically you want to follow the bass notes of your chord progression. So the bass notes is going to be the very lowest notes on the chord progression. And then before you start laying down any notes, you want to right click on your 808 and always have this checked, cut itself. If it's not checked, then you'll have the 808s overlapping each other. If they're played in quick succession, like if they're played next to each other, it's going to overlap and it's going to sound not good. if you cut itself, as soon as this note plays, this note stops playing. So you can never play two notes at once. So it's always good to have cut itself turned on. So now we're going to start laying down some notes. The 808 is going to set the groove of the song. So you want to make sure you're placing them in spots that go with the groove that you're thinking of. So that's going to be it for the 808s. 808s you want to keep very, very simple unless you're doing another genre of hip-hop like drill, UK drill. Those are going to be a little more complex. That'll not be one of the lessons in this beginner course. So in these simple beats like Playboy Cardi beats, Pierre Bourne, Zaytoven beats, the 808s are usually going to stick to maybe two notes, sometimes a little bit more. And then as far as having like a section that goes a little bit different, that usually is towards the end. So you don't want to do too much flair and different notes in the beginning. You want to usually do that a little towards the end. So I'll give you an example. So, something like that. So that's the 808s. Next we're going to do the kick. And that's pretty much going to be it for this lesson. In the next one, we're going to go over how to turn this into a full beat with the intro, the chorus, verse, and then back to the chorus, and then another verse, and then maybe a hook again, and then outro. So we're going to go over how exactly you do that, because you don't want your beats to just loop the same thing over and over again. You want to have different sections for the rapper to come in and start rapping, and then the singer to come in and sing the hook, etc. So we'll go over all that in the next lesson. Make sure to go and download kits from my website. I have a whole bunch of free ones, and I also do tutoring one-on-one. If you guys are ever interested in that, you can just email me or DM me on Discord, and then I'll get you hooked up with some one-on-one tutoring. So that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions in the comment section, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.